Okay, we're live. Welcome back, my friends, to the committee that never ends, the hearing agenda for Thursday, March 25th. I am, as always, your friendly chairman, Kumar Varve. I'm joined by the equally friendly vice chairman, Dana Stein, and the relatively morose members of my committee. So I'm just joking. That's not true. In any case, we have four bills today. And they are going to go in the following order: Senate Bill 291, Senate Bill 4, Senate Bill 170, and Senate Bill 184. And with that, I'm going to start with Senate Bill 291, and it is a departmental bill, I believe, and it is going to be presented by Chrissy Nizer. Chrissy, welcome back to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's certainly a pleasure to be with you, and appreciate the opportunity to present in support of Senate Bill 291. For the record, my name is Chrissy Nizer, M.MBA Administrator. This bill might look familiar for you, the committee members. In prior years, the committee did pass it out unanimously. It passed the House floor, but unfortunately lost time. This year we started on the Senate side, and now we're here with the bill in front of you. Just as a reminder, this would remove that restriction from trucks to follow too closely. This is part of the effort of our Connected and Automated Vehicle Working Group. As many of you know, Delegate Fraser Hidalgo participates from the House side, and looking to allow Maryland to participate in some of the programs that our neighboring states are participating in. So there's already Virginia and Pennsylvania allow this on their roads. The Federal Highway Administration is looking to partner with us. We think it's a great economic development thing. You're very aware of the truck shortage problem that we have today. I want to be very clear that the driver is still in the vehicle. Just as a reminder to everybody, this just allows those trucks to be in close proximity to each other, using GPS or using signaling. Much more efficient, good for the economy because it saves on gas as well. So we think it really is a all-around win-win situation. It's a way to continue to enhance highway safety using technology to do so. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Well, let's go to the other proponent of the bill, and and then we'll entertain questions. Let me introduce, I believe the pronunciation would be Setin Mersili. Is that correct?
It's not, but that's fine.
Well, how would it have been correctly pronounced?
It is Çetin Meriçli, and thank you so
much. Okay, well, I mistook the Cyrilla for what I learned in French, and you represent a company called Locomation, which is named after a Carole King song, so that's always nice. So, anyway, okay. Welcome to the committee. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Chairman Barve and distinguished members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to provide my perspective on Senate Bill 291 and the future of truck platooning in Maryland. My name is Çetin Meriçli, and I'm the CEO of Locomation. My company is developing what we term human-guided autonomy systems for truck convoying that is being tested right here in the Mid-Atlantic. Locomation is taking this human-guided autonomy approach to deploying fully autonomous trucks because it is safer and more economically beneficial as it scales out. Not only does our approach harness the capabilities and strengths of today's professional truck driver, it is also preparing them for the future of trucking in an increasingly autonomous world. In 2020, Locomation received the world's first commercial autonomous truck purchase order for 1,120 trucks from Wilson Logistics. I also want to thank the Maryland Department of Transportation and the Maryland General Assembly for their leadership in recognizing the benefits that truck platooning can offer. I've had the honor of participating on a panel discussion at an event that MDOT hosted last year on truck platooning. Senate Bill 291 is a good bill. However, there is one adjustment that is needed to accurately reflect the current capabilities of truck platooning technology. This adjustment is critical to ensuring truck platooning in Maryland is correctly deployed in order to unlock the full benefits of the technology. The requirement in Senate Bill 291 to have a driver in each vehicle traveling in a truck platoon fails to recognize the important use case and benefits unique to truck platooning. Autonomous truck platooning activity involves two SAE Level 4 autonomy equipped trucks working together, where the lead driver in the front truck is actively engaged in driving and the follower truck is functioning in full autonomy mode. The option to not have a truck driver in the follower vehicle could actually help relieve the strain on the nation's truck driver shortage, as human-guided convoys enable one professional truck driver to do the work of two and deliver twice as much freight, twice as far and twice as fast. This will allow for trucks to operate under current hours of service.
If you could begin to wrap up your testimony, the committee would appreciate it.
Requiring a driver in the following vehicle as currently envisioned in State Bill 291 could have a chilling effect on the deployment of autonomous truck technology in Maryland.
Okay, you know what? We're going to have some questions here. Let me go to Delegate Ruth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I'm curious to know how secure this technology is, particularly as related to Mr. Marici's suggested amendment to not have a driver in the truck. Are these can they be hacked?
Oh, that's an excellent question. In order to contemplate deploying this technology on the public roads, we will have to prove compliance in a multitude of standards required around safety that involves cybersecurity standards as well. So before we actually unleash the technology in the real world, they will have to be proven to be safe against these hacking attempts.
Thank you.
Before I recognize Delegate Holmes, Chrissy, you don't support this amendment, do you?
No, and thank you, Chairman Barbie. I did want to add that the state is not currently asking for the authority for these to be autonomous. We have taken a very careful road in our journey towards connected and automated vehicles, and we think that the current process we have in place with the permit issuance, making sure these vehicles are safe is the right way to go. Most of the states that have adopted, that I'm aware of, had adopted still having that individual behind the wheel. So the state, we're only asking for the authority to allow that following too closely provision to be removed.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's right, and that means that somebody could take over. So in the instance Delegate Ruth brought up, right, if there was some kind of challenge, that driver behind the wheel takes control.
Okay, Delegate Holmes.
And that was my question as well, Mr. Chair, because I couldn't envision the state being behind it. But since I'm here, Mr.
Merichley.
Yeah.
Did I get it right? Merichley?
Yeah, what you said.
Well, when your middle name is Prabhakar, you try to make an effort on these.
You indicated something in reference to truck driver shortage. Just provide us with information to the committee in terms of what your data is to support that there is a truck driver shortage. That's all. And you don't have to talk about it now. Just submit something to us. I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Any further questions for these presenters? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much. That ends the public hearing on Senate Bill 291. Let's go to Senate Bill 4. Senator Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 4, as amended, prohibits a state employee or official, including a legislator, from retaliating against an individual for reporting or participating in an investigation of potential violation of public ethics laws. Bill also expands the list of entities whose gifts are restricted to include an association that is engaged only in representing counties and municipalities. Biggest thrust, the main thrust of this from staff was, when it was put together, is there's a feeling by staff that people are afraid sometimes to being retaliated against if they participate in an investigation. And this would hopefully ease the mind of people and then be more willing to participate. So I would ask for your support of Senate Bill 4.
So this is very similar to the bill that Brooke Learman had, but it's got a difference. It extends the lobbyist prohibitions on gifts to MML and MACO. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
So if the Baltimore City, let me ask a question. If the City of Baltimore wanted to buy dinner for their delegation, would they have to invite everybody in the General Assembly?
It's my understanding that we treated like anybody else. So that's sort of how it works here.
So they'd be treated like Jerry Evans and Nick Manis and all those people.
Don't go individually.
Okay.
And the bills were cross-filed. The hierarchy over here, for a better way to say it, wanted that put in to make kind of make it like all elected officials, whether they're state or local, we're in the same category. That's why that was amended over here. The other part of it's exactly the same.
Mhm. Okay. So testifying favorably is Adina Britt. Let's listen to her and then we'll entertain questions. Adina, are you around? Okay, well, she's not in. So are there any questions for Senator Edwards? All right, that concludes the public hearing on on Senate Bill 4. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay, Senate Bill 170 and testifying in favor. This is also a departmental bill. Testifying in favor of it is Tim Smith for the SHA administrator. Tim, and there he is.
Good afternoon, Chairman Barvey and members of the committee. As for the record, I'm Tim Smith, Administrator for MDOT State Highway Administration. I'm pleased to hear that the Senate Bill 170 was passed through the Senate, bringing attention to a serious safety and financial risk to the state that we've been dealing with for a couple of years now. So from July of 2019 through midsummer last year, State Highway saw 30 different wire thefts on our roadway system. Those thefts have created safety issues for our drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists on our roadway lighting.
I'm sorry, what kind of theft?
It's a wiring theft. They're removing the wires from our poles.
Okay, all right.
But it's impacting our lighting system. So a lot of times our lights are out because the copper has been stolen. The copper wiring has been stolen from the conduit. So we estimate the cost of Maryland taxpayers of roughly $600,000, and that's dollars we could have spent on other safety improvements. So during the last few months, we've been working as a team with this bill in collaboration with our private industry partners in the scrap metal business. We've made some adjustments to the bill and removed the holding period requirement. That's because we believe our improved communication efforts with our law enforcement partners will allow us to better address that period once we have knowledge of the theft without requiring that holding period from our private business partners. So as amended, Senate Bill 170 kind of creates a stricter penalties for tampering, as well as removing or theft of any transportation related infrastructure. Those penalties include up to 6 months of imprisonment for first offense or $1,500, second offense, 18 months, up to 18 months, and roughly $5,000. So thank you for the opportunity to testify, and our request is just your support of Senate Bill 170 to help us recognize and reduce safety risks and costs to the state.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. The first will go to Delegate Healy and then to Delegate Ruth in that order.
Okay.
And then Jay Jacobs. Go ahead,
Thank you
Ann.
very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My question is about the criminal penalty. Is there a criminal penalty for this now, or are you adding that in this legislation?
There is one now. We're just adding additional teeth to it. Right now, it's very, very minimal.
Very what? I couldn't hear you.
Minimal. I'm sorry, minimal.
Okay. The concern I think that we've seen in the last few years in the General Assembly is trying not to make more criminal, create more crimes and put more people in jail and see if there's alternative ways to get people to change their behavior. And I'm concerned about criminalizing or making, filling the jails up with people if there's another way to handle it. Have you thought of anything else?
The challenge is with that we've pursued other opportunities, whether that's identifying marking of our wiring to try to get it back later. The challenge is from a safety perspective, we're risking the lives of every one of our motorists on the roadway, as well as our bicyclists and pedestrians. So we're trying to avoid greater crimes in this case in terms of just concern and safety. And from a Vision Zero perspective, we're trying to reduce fatalities and injuries on our roadways.
All right, thank you.
Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So do I understand what you're saying, that the reason people are taking this is for the copper, and I assume they're selling the copper. Is that?
Yes, it depends on the market value for copper, but it can be valuable taking it to a scrap metal manufacturer, and then they sell it for profit.
So is this like individuals doing it, or are there like, organized groups that are doing it in mass?
Well, we found at least 2 or 3 groups of them, and we've been working with our law enforcement partners. You can do it by yourself, but you got to know what you're doing because there is a lot of electricity going through there and voltage. But we felt like there was 2 groups. One was caught. We still feel like there's been issues on our system since then. They haven't caught that particular individual.
Thank you. Just one more question following on Delegate Healy's questions. So there's a potential jail time. Is this also classified as like a misdemeanor, or is there no criminal classification?
That I'd have to get back to you. I don't know the details on that part.
Thank you.
Delegate Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Getting to the sentencing part of this, I know sometimes when we're discussing motor vehicle laws, we can't prescribe the terms of imprisonment as a body. It's up to the judiciary, and I'm wondering how, when you determine these maximum penalties, is that working with existing the sentence that would be worked out with judges, or is this something that you're trying to tell them? I'm just trying to avoid a potential problem here.
The way the bill is written now, it gives them guidance, but that's up to, so they could, it's ultimately up to the judicial system.
Okay, thank you.
Before I recognize Delegate Love, I haven't read the bill. What fines do you have in the bill?
It's $1,500. Hold on, $1,500 for the first offense and $5,000 for the second. And
you don't feel that that's a sufficient deterrent?
That's what we're proposing. Right now, it's a little much less than that.
No, I mean, do you feel that the fine isn't enough of a deterrent, and that's why you have the jail time in there?
Realizing the committee's concerns, that's something we could potentially compromise on. Like I said, we're trying to keep our infrastructure safe and keep focused on a Vision Zero perspective.
Okay, Delegate Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my questions are sort of in this same genre. So as I understand your testimony, there is a problem with the theft. You've caught one group and there's another group that you have not yet caught. And so you're seeking an increase in penalties because you're hoping this will be a deterrent?
Correct.
For other groups? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I'm done, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Frazier Hidalgo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So can you tell me, and I don't know if I missed it, I was doing a lot of transition there, what is the average cost of when they steal this copper wiring, what is that cost to the state? Just the hardware cost, just the cost of the wiring itself, generally, approximately.
Well, we've roughly had 30 thefts that we're aware of and 600,000, so probably about 20,000 a pop ish.
Okay. And those wires, are they directly linked to traffic signals, or are they directly linked to
Overhead lighting?
Overhead lighting. Okay, and what kind of roadways are they doing this on?
The challenges we've had is on the US 29s, I-70s, US 40s, Maryland 295s, I-97, a lot of our interstate interchanges, as well as some of our at-grade intersections.
So these are groups of folks that are coming up with ladder trucks. Are they going up to it, or is it the wiring going up? What kind of equipment do they need to steal this?
They're on the side of the road, either with a utility truck or a pickup truck, and it's not necessarily they have to go up. It's the conduit connecting the two light poles that we'll have conduit underground, but they'll break into the light pole at the base and just pull the wiring out from there.
So they're almost daisy chained, one light to the next. They'll sever it on both sides, pull it through the conduit, roll it up and just put it in their truck and drive off with 30 or 40 feet of copper.
Correct.
And now the lights are not, they're not being used.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not like the new Christmas lights. It's like the older Christmas lights that once one light goes out, the entire intersection goes down.
Wow,
That's pretty serious. Yeah.
that's dangerous. That's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, thank you. I wanted that in my head exactly
Yeah.
how they're doing that. That gives me a lot better idea of your challenges. Thank you.
So basically, they're cutting the wires around what they want to steal so that they don't electrocute themselves when they steal the copper. Is that basically what they're doing?
Yeah, the way you do this, the individuals know what they're doing, but they're removing the wiring from our system and have the proper safety equipment so they don't electrocute themselves. But it is having a significant impact on our infrastructure, and we're having a tough time keeping up with where we feel like it needs to be from our customer expectations standpoint. And this just further exasperates it, because as soon as we replaced some wiring, we found out within a week they've come by and removed it for us. And
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine for those folks that know exactly what they're doing, they can get in and out in probably 5 to 7 minutes, right? They just cut one side, cut the other, pull it right out, pull it right through the conduit.
Well, and then if you look at how our contracting or our maintenance forces work, they have a pickup truck with proper flashing lights on it, roll up, and they can be in and out in less than 5 or 10 minutes. Agreed.
Okay.
Any
You're good,
questions?
Dave?
I am,
Good,
thank you,
Dave.
Mr. Chairman. You
Okay.
individual.
Okay. Delegate Holmes, Healy, and Parrott.
Thank you so much. To me, this sounds like pretty sophisticated stuff. And it has the scent of an inside job, to tell you the truth. Inside, not necessarily the department, but perhaps the contractors themselves. I was wondering if you could give us some data on the frequency of these occurrences, just so we know how many times these things take place. You can just send that to us, just so we can understand the frequency of the occurrences of this kind of thing.
Be happy to.
Do you know the answer off the top of your head?
Yeah, part of my testimony was within a year time frame from June of 19 to June of 2020, we had 30 instances of theft on our system.
I don't want to sound an alarm, but to me, because of the sophistication required, this sounds like an inside job to me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Delegate Healy and Parrott in that order.
Yeah, in addition to raising the penalties that this bill does, have you undertaken any kind of investigations, or have you thought about using security cameras at locations where this happens frequently?
Yeah, so we've definitely partnered with Maryland State Police as well as our local law enforcement. And in addition to that, we've used our own chart patrols that are out there looking for disabled motorists to let folks know when we have scheduled work versus somebody that's out there without unscheduled work. And we've tried to use our cameras as well, but those cameras are mainly focused on roadway safety as well as roadway mobility. So they're not really focused on the shoulders and off the right of way at our lighting areas.
I'm just thinking that maybe using that kind of technology might actually be more effective for enforcement than raising the penalty. That's all. If you actually catch people and are able to deal with them in the justice system, even if you raise the penalty, if you're not catching them, it doesn't help much, does it?
Agreed.
Delegate Parrott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Delegate Healy actually was right on what I was thinking too. And Tim, thanks for your response. It seems like there might be a way to use chart and use some more video cameras to angle, especially if there are some hot spots where they keep, you mentioned that they would put them down and then come get like the same location again. I don't know if that's something that can be done or not, but that might be a way to help catch these guys.
No, I definitely hear what the committee's saying. The challenge is we have over 30,000 lighting structures across our state. So that's a lot of IT infrastructure to put out there to kind of monitor this. So we went down this path hoping that it is enough a deterrent to prevent it from happening in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, DFH, then Sheila Ruth, and then I think we're going to move on to the next bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the second bite. Just kind of thinking this all the way through. So you said that the cost generally, these guys will come in on a truck or whatever they're doing, cut between two poles, pull it right out through the conduit, roll it up, and they're out in 5 to 7 minutes, right? And that's about 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So the follow-up piece of this is the other half of that spreadsheet. So that's what it cost the state in hardware costs of what does it cost the state to have your folks come out and put the wire back in and hook everything back up? So there's two pieces to that, right? So there's the personnel cost and then there's the hardware cost. What is that looking at? Like how do you balance that part of the balance sheet? Because I got the impression that $20,000 number you gave us, the committee, was really just the ripping out cost of.
Yeah, well, there's parts and there's labor. I'd have to follow back up with you on what the actual labor costs are for us to reinstallation.
But if you're saying that it's about $20,000 lost to ripping it out, does that mean you're looking at another $20,000 in materials just to put it back in, not including labor? So if you put those two numbers, all those numbers together, you're looking at more like $50,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 per incident. I mean, that's what the math is saying, if that's correct.
Following your math, that's correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And for the last question, Delegate Ruth.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to let you know, I think Delegate Amprey's trying to raise his hand.
Hold on, somebody needs to mute themselves. I'm hearing background noise here. Okay, go ahead, Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let you know, I think Delegate Amprey's trying to raise his hand. I'm not sure if his button is not working.
Yeah, my button's not. I've been trying to raise my hand. My button's not working.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you.
I tried to do an actual.
Delegate Amprey.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we've had a really rich discussion on what works as far as, you know, preventing this occurrence of these light boxes being and the copper being removed. So my question to you, Mr. Smith, is, do you know? I'm sure this isn't an issue that only Maryland has. Like, what have been like? What are the instances? Have you studied what's happening in other states? What has been a good response to how they've dealt with it and so forth? If you've had the opportunity to look at that, I think that would be a good way for us to analyze the effectiveness of this potential policy.
I know our team has, but I don't have that off the top of my head. I can share that with you if you would like.
That'd be great. I just want to know what's working and what's not working as far as how to prevent this from happening.
Absolutely.
You know, there have been so many of these incidences. We might want to consider making it an emergency bill, whatever we do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see it. I mean, copper is expensive and, you know, we can't be allowing this to be happening, but I just don't know what the penalties ought to be, but we might want to consider making it an emergency bill, have it go into effect immediately. Just a thought. Okay, well, that ends the public hearing on Senate Bill 170. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Let's proceed to the last bill of the afternoon, Senate Bill 184. We welcome back our good friend, long lost son, Senator Corey McRae. Corey, welcome back to ENT. Corey. Oh no, there he is. There's his smiling face.
Mr. Chair, I'm putting this other Zoom meeting on mute.
Okay, good. Good.
And now I think you have my full undivided attention.
All righty.
Can you see me?
I can see you and hear you, Corey.
Okay. Perfect. I can see myself now. Mr. Chair, just want to say thank you. Is the 2 minutes for sponsors too, Mr. Chair?
4 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee, first, it's good to always be back home. Let me be very clear before I say that, before I start. I just want to say that I'm, for the record, Corey McCray, representing the 45th Legislative District. I'm here before you in reference to Senate Bill 184. Senate Bill 184 is a very simple bill. Last year, we gave the opportunity for our behavioral health organizations to be able to hand out bus passes. Because this is already a given opportunity that you can get from the MTA themselves, the legislature enabled the MTA to be able to do this and give them directly to behavioral health organizations. I agree with this principally, but let me be clear, as Baltimore City, the home of where we have a number of, I want to say 60% of the behavioral health organizations are right here in Baltimore City. And the challenge, Mr. Chair, is that we have good actors and then we have bad actors. And one of the things that we don't want to do is reward bad actors. So what Senate Bill 184 does is take conditions that were agreed upon by behavioral health organization coalitions, such as Lori Dole, who works with certain folks, and CCOT, who works with certain folks, but we've nailed it down to where it's just 3 conditions that they could not have been in violation of to get this privilege. They could not have had a license suspension or revocation. They could not have had a settlement agreement establishing specific conditions for continued program operations or an approved petition for receivership. And I say this, and I also put an example of what a challenging behavioral health organization looks like. So in my testimony, you'll see that I put a settlement agreement that the Maryland Department of Health had to have with one of my behavioral health organizations. And Mr. Chair, what you'll find in that is that this behavioral health organization violated 6 conditions within COMAR. One of the conditions was a program shall report critical incidents to the administration, MDH. A program shall report diversion of any controlled substance to administration as soon as diversion is discovered. They did not do that. A program shall treat each patient with consideration, respect, and full recognition of patients' human dignity and individuality and ensure patients' privacy and confidentiality. They did not do that. They had people standing outside of the premises in line where anyone could see them, Mr. Chair. Their employer could see them, their neighbors could see them, and that's not right. Number 4, a program shall prevent physical or mental abuse by program staff. They were in violation of that. Number 5, the patient to alcohol and drug counselor ratio may not exceed 50 patients. They were in violation of that. And then number 6, manage the program by implementing a program service plan approved by the administration that is based on the levels of treatment to be provided defined in COMAR. So they were clearly in violation of 6 violations. We should not be rewarding bad actors. We should be encouraging the good actors and giving those opportunities to the good actors. And I say, Mr. Chair, that I hope that ENT, it's made it through the Senate. I hope that ENT is embodied to do full passage of Senate Bill 184. And thank you for this opportunity to share it before the committee. Thank you again, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Senator, questions for the sponsor of the bill? Any questions? I don't see any questions for you, Corey. It looks like you've so far come out of this unscathed. There are a number of people who've signed up against the bill. So let me just recognize them. They would be Barbara Bricado, Alfred Harris, and Bilal Ali. So let's start with Barbara Bricado. 2 minutes. Welcome to the committee.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Barbara Bricado here on behalf of Turning Point Clinic, which is one of the longest serving clinics in the state and is in Senator McCray's district. We are here respectfully in opposition to Senate Bill 184. As was stated by the sponsor, this prohibits certain providers from participating in the MTA bus program. You all may recall that Turning Point, and I didn't testify, but both Mr. Ali and Mr. Harris, who are testifying after me, testified before you last year and again this year on the legislation creating this bus pass bill. We were the ones who reached out to MTA and tried to work with MTA for a number of years to try and create this program to create better access to care. We're in opposition to this bill because we have concerns that it's going to create barriers to care. And in particular, you know, what's happening in the current environment. Suicides are on the rise. I only have 36 seconds. The big problem we have is in the exclusion with regard to a settlement agreement, which is lines 8 and 9 on page 2 of the bill. Our client had a settlement agreement. They were in fully compliance with any of the problems that the state had back in 2015. They came to an agreement with the state. There were never any sanctions imposed upon them. In this bill, you have deleted the imposition of sanctions if there's a deficiency.
Barbara, you could start to wrap up. The committee would appreciate.
Okay, I'm just saying no sanctions were ever approved. They've taken sanctions out. In this case, there was full agreement on the settlement back in 1915.
Okay.
I mean, in 2015, and I'd be glad to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's go to Alfred Harris and Bilal Ali and then entertain questions. Mr. Harris, welcome to the committee. You have 2 minutes. I don't see Mr. Harris. How about former Delegate Ali? Welcome to the committee. You have 2 minutes.
Here I am. My name is Alfred Harris.
Oh, all right. Go ahead, Mr. Harris.
I'm here for Turning Point. And still trying to find out, you know, what's going on with the bus pass situation. You know, it would really help if they put it in. Because a lot of older people go to this program and everybody don't have the money to go back and forth every day for 30 days. I know I don't have it, but I do what I do, you know, and if I can help in a better way to get these bus passes, it'll really help us out.
Okay, anything else to add, sir? Is that it?
Well, you know, it's better, put it this way. If I had a bus pass, I wouldn't have had to walk 3 miles, you know, to get to Turning Point.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir. Next, we welcome back former Delegate Bilal Ali to the committee. Bilal, you have 2 minutes. Welcome. You need to unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me
There you
now?
go. We can hear you.
Okay. Well, first of all, good afternoon, and it's glad to be back. I'm here on behalf of CMDS, Clinical Management Development Service. And as I had previously stated when I testified before, I have 20 years of experience in substance abuse and mental health. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor, and I'm a licensed clinical alcohol clinician. And I wanted to thank your committee for passing Senate Bill 705. And I'm here in opposition of Senate Bill 184. And I think Senator McCray is well intended, but he doesn't look at the unintended. Wait a minute.
We can hear you, Bilal.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay. If you can hear me, I will continue my phone. So what's happening, the unintended consequences is that you are denying patients access to treatment. And the sanctions that's associated with this bill, you're talking about something that maybe happened 5-10 years ago. And the focus should be on the patient. I understand that you don't want to reward bad actors and etc. But you, at the end of the day, you have to think about the impact that this particular bill would have on clients. And during a time when we're in the midst of an opioid crisis, we shouldn't be creating barriers to access to treatment. We should be opening the door because we know that certain things are exacerbated during this pandemic. And I think that's the point that this committee should focus on, because one of the programs that Senator McCray is referencing to is Turning Point. It just happens to be in his district, and it's one of the larger programs in the city. So if this bill gets a favorable committee report, then you're impacting thousands and thousands of people that really desperately needs access to treatment, that has transportation challenges. And I just think that the committee should give this a thumbs down in an unfavorable report.
Okay. Any questions, Delegate Ampry?
Yeah, thank you so much. Trying to get some better understanding just as far as, and I guess this question is for Barbara or anyone else who can answer it. As far as on page 2 of the bill in regards to it says that you have to make a settlement agreement establishing the specific conditions and understanding that whether or not there's an admittance of violation of under these agreements that you've admitted to violating something. I'm just trying to get better understanding if you can provide some clarity on that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that question, Delegate Ampry. And I am not a lawyer, but you do have in your packet a legal analysis of the issues, but in a simple, way here. As I understand it, so that, and I did reach out to the health department to talk to them about what these 5 different categories meant. I'll tell you that the department indicated to me that a suspension or an approved petition for receivership of a suspension or revocation or an approved petition for receivership happens very infrequently. And they're the more serious infractions. The other 3 infractions, 2 of which were amended in the Senate at the sponsor's request, the imposition of its sanctions, including a directed plan, or the issuance of a notice of deficiencies, or an approval of a settlement agreement establishing specific conditions for a continued program, or the one I'm going to focus on. My understanding is that if an issuance or notice of deficiencies occurs, which I believe is what happened with regard to Turning Point back in 2014, then there are 2 potential things that can occur. The state can work with the provider and address those concerns, and then there would be an approved settlement agreement. That is what occurred with Turning Point in 2015. Or if that didn't happen, sanctions would be imposed. Sanctions were never imposed on Turning Point. They had an agreed to settlement agreement. So Delegate Ampry, I think that's my understanding from discussing this with the lawyer that took a look at it. That's the conversation that I had with the Department of Health about how they looked at when they looked at these 5 categories. And if you needed additional information, we could certainly, I could call on legal counsel to give you a more detailed response.
Yeah, I appreciate. I was trying to understand that within the settlement, is there an admittance of there being a violation? Like, is that what's happening here? So I'm trying to get that understanding, but and it appears that you're saying it's best to move forward with having a conversation offline. But I'm happy to continue that.
Well, again, I mean, I think my understanding is there was never a sanction. There was this agreed to settlement after there had been identified deficiencies that were identified by Senator McCray.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand. I am an attorney by trade, so often a settlement can be. I just want to better understand like what violations possibly took place. I think the purpose of the bill here is to try and not reward people for whatever violations they may have taken place. So, but I'm happy to get more information offline. I'm just trying to make sure that we have all the information on the table to make the best decision as we move forward.
Absolutely.
Any further questions for the opponents to the bill? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the public hearing on Senate Bill 184, and that concludes public hearings for today. Let me go next to announcements. Are there any announcements? So I subject chairs. Doesn't look like it. Any announcements from any other member of the committee? Okay, I'd like to go straight into a quick leadership meeting. So if you all could, you're all excused to go unless you are Jay Jacobs or a subcommittee chair. So I'd like to have my leadership meeting right now. Take